So this is going to be a web series on YouTube for web designers and web developers using Webflow that are just starting out. And I'm literally going to go through the process of how I designed the website in Figma, and then I transition into Webflow. I'm going to go through how I find the colors, how do I create the layout in Figma, how do I find the typography for the web design. So basically the whole design process, and how do I develop the websites in Webflow afterwards. Now this is the first video of the series, and in this video we're gonna see how I take inspirations and how do I come up with the layout. And by the way, I have no topic planned out for this series, meaning I don't know what am I going to design, and that's why I'm just gonna generate a random idea about what are we going to design. And because it's so random, it's gonna be fun and also pretty interesting to see what I come up with. So now let's start by how do I find the layout I want to use for my web design. Before starting to design anything and looking how we can create a layout, let's first generate the topic of our web design. So in this case, I just went on fake clients. I basically generated a prompt, and this is the imaginary client it gave me. The new New York tea house. Here they're just looking to create a landing page, and in our case, we're just going to create the home page. Now that we have our topic, we can now go look for inspirations. So the first place I go for inspirations for, it's Dribbble. So on Dribbble, we can just go on the tab that says web design and see what are other website designers doing at the moment, what have been done recently, and we can inspire ourselves from this. However, we have to now look of how do we want to create this tea house? How do we want it to look? In our case, when I think of a tea house, I think of something more vintage, not something more futuristic. I don't think of that. I don't think of something like we can see here, design here. We can see the font here. It's more corporate font. This is not something I imagine a tea house having. I imagine a tea house with something vintage, with more of a luxurious font, something that has some age. So for example, here, this would be a good example, because we can see here it's a website, it's a landing page or a hero section. This is basically what I'm looking for. That's the identity of a tea house, I would imagine. I really like this design. This is something I will keep in mind. So let's just see what else do they have. You can see here, this is a wine website, but I would imagine a tea house having a look similar to this one. It feels vintage, but at the same time, it feels, I would say, futuristic just a little bit, because it's very fluid. It's very smooth. This is something I like. And here we can see I found another design that I really like. I think it will also be very nice to inspire ourselves from this. I really like the layout that they have. It's very minimalistic and there's a lot of white space. So now that we have like already 3 inspirations from Dribbble, I would also go on Pinterest and search for the tea house website design inspirations. I will also look for maybe restaurants web design, because tea house, it's a very specific niche. So just to see what's is there for restaurants. This one looks very nice. It's like for a bakery. So this is something I will save. So now let's type tea house. Yeah, so we can see in general, like in this industry, like in the tea house niche, you can see the colors are always very pale. And this is something very interesting to note. And I think we'll go with pale colors as well, because it's something that fits so nicely tea in general. And also for inspirations, you could go to behance.net. Here's also very nice inspirations. You can also look for them here. But with everything I found on Pinterest and awards, I'm pretty good. I think we're settled. So we're going to go right away to Figma to see what we come up with. So now that we're in Figma, I have my inspirations here saved all in one folder. So you have to remember to keep yourself organized. So I have some of the inspirations here, something that I really like. Again, I have to remember the style with which we're going to go here. It's vintage and pale colors. I'm going to really try to go also extreme minimalistic here, because that's what I see a tea house being very relaxing, something where you can have peace of mind. So a lot of white space, I think, would be important here. So now we can start designing in Figma. And because we don't have our colors and our typography, uh, what I would do in this case is start with gray colors. This way we just make the layout, and then once we're happy with the layout, we can fill them up with colors and with the right typography. So here we can start with already a Canva, which I'm going to start just with the desktop. And I really, really like this type of layout. So all the products are like to the right, but instead of us just showcasing products, we are going to showcase the actual tea house. So we're going to go find pictures of the tea house, and I'm thinking of putting the tea house on the right and having a big title on the left. Or in fact, even maybe doing the opposite, because we would like to showcase the tea house more than the text. If you have a pretty tea house, which in this case we will, because we're gonna find it online. So in this case, what I'm thinking, I'm gonna start by making a nav bar on the side. So by trying to be a little bit creative here. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna create a nav bar on the side like this. And here we're gonna have the nav bar. So home, menu, contact, and we'll put our story. Considering that your tea house has a story, you know, if your client doesn't have really an about us story, don't need to create an about us. So I would go with something like this for now. And again, this is experimenting. So that's why even we're in grayscale at the moment, because we don't even know the colors at the moment. So now we're just experimenting, and let's put the social links in the bottom, and in the top, well, what we'll do is that in the top we'll put the logo, which at the moment we don't know, and I'll just find something online, because this is not a video about making a logo. This is just showing how we can make the layout. So here for the button, I would make something like a square, and we'll make it just another different type of gray, just to show that there is a button. But it's not going to be like a button. It's going to be different icons for the social media links. So I'll just consider that they have 3 links. So what I'll do here is that I'll stretch it out. Okay. All right. So that's how I imagine it. Even we can maybe even space it out even more. So we can put it in the center, and we can then stretch it out. Yeah. And in the top, we'll have a logo, which I'm just going to put another square. Just make it a different color so we can see. Yeah. So now that we have a square, what I will do here is that I will make another section here where here we're going to have the text. This is where we're going to have the text, and here we're going to have the image of our beautiful tea house. So yeah, so I think it's gonna be looking pretty good. So now I just want to see at look at other inspirations to see how did they make it look. So we can see here they basically like they just have a lot of white space. we can actually use a button like this for a call to action on the top. That would be nice. However, I really like in this design how it's like very darkish. Yeah, but I will still stick with this type of look. Like I would say 35% of the screen is occupied by one section, and the other 65-70% of the screen will be the image. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna write the headline. So here we're gonna go with the purest tea in New York. I would make it, of course, way bigger. And I would make it skip a line here. And again, the title is not final. The title is just so we can fill up the blank at the moment. Then we'll come up with the title that is actually more practical. But for now, it's going to be that. So purest tea in New York. And we're going to have our description here. This description is going to be about 22. And it's going to be longer like this. And in fact, instead of inventing the text at the moment, what we can do is that we can basically right click, going to plugins, and you can download this plugin, Lorem Ipsum. So this is basically the Latin text that you can just generate. And we can write, okay, about 3 sentences. You can choose the one of words. I'll choose 3 sentences, generate, and just generate. So this is just in the beginning when you start designing. It just helps you fill up the space with paragraphs or with just random text. Now, if we want to be extremely fancy, we can try to either put a button to keep it basic, or we can just make a scroll animation that will make people scroll down and discover more about the menu or whatever we want them to discover. Yeah, so what I'm thinking, let's make it scroll. Yeah, I think we'll put kind of arrow. Yeah. Oh, okay. Nope. See this, I'll just rotate it. And I'll horizontally flip it. And eventually in Webflow, I would animate the arrow, but at the moment in Figma, it's just gonna be still like this. And yeah, so I'm kind of liking it. And let's move on to the other section. I'm just gonna make it a little bit bigger. And then let's look at our other inspirations from our other designs. So I like how they basically started telling the story here, but that's not important. I would not put the story right away, but I like how they displayed the images, because we have to understand that this website is not just to be a website and exist. This website needs to serve a purpose. So in this case, we need to showcase the menu, show the location, and just make sure that it's extremely accessible for people. Let's do that. So in that section, I would just do something similar. Just create in Figma a grid that I'm gonna make columns. I'm gonna make 16. I'm gonna put it center, and I'm gonna stretch it. Now I want it to match the nav bar. This way it never goes over the nav bar. Okay, what I'm thinking here is that I'm gonna just keep it extremely simple. So again, we want to showcase our, again, menu and location, and maybe even types of teas we have. And if it's, this website is actually maybe selling teas, maybe online. So what I'll do is that here we'll write something like, I don't know, something like what we do for now. Again, it's not final. Now what I would do is that I would have, I think 3 grids like this. Okay. Not aligned, which that's what I want. I don't want them to align. Yeah, so give me a minute. Yeah, so give me a minute. I'll just try to figure out how I'll arrange the placement, how I'll make the layout, and let's see what I can. I'm just gonna add an icon because I decided here that we can add to the home, the hero section, not mentioning the address here anywhere, and because it's a local shop, we should. So here I would just make another rectangle where I would this will basically be the address, and I'll just retrieve from Nucleo. This is another app I suggest you to download. They have a lot of icons which are free, and you can download them in SVG as well. So you can edit the colors and everything in Figma. I'll just copy SVG code and I'll come here and I'll just copy paste it. And here we go. It's in the program and well, in Figma. And it's very nice because we can, now that it's an SVG file, we can just change the colors and do whatever we want with it. Yeah. So now I'll keep it in black, aligned with the contact us. So when we're going to click on this button, eventually in Webflow, it's going to bring us to Google Maps. Okay, so here I think what I will do instead, I'll go with this type of, I just want to see the length of this. It's the height is 105. So here I'll do the same. 105 like this. Okay, so now we have a difference of 105. I don't want them to be the same height though. And now what we'll do is that here, instead of doing what we do, I'll just, for every single one, we'll have a text. So for example, here, our menu, which I'll think I'll make way smaller because this is like a secondary H2. Then we'll bring it up, down, just a little bit up. And here, all of them, I think after one, we're gonna have a more, once we're gonna add colors to the design, I'm gonna make it more of a very pale color. And in there, we're gonna basically say in the bottom, or no, we're gonna just put it on top. And again, you can hear me like I'm just speaking out loud. I'm just thinking, sorry, out loud, and I'm just basically thinking like, okay, well, how can we do it? And if we try it like this, and if we try it like this, and I'm just experimenting. And because it's again gray and white, and we can't really know how it's gonna look like. So once you start adding colors, which in the next videos we're gonna do, you're gonna see some things are gonna be like, yeah, with color it looks off, and you'll need to adjust. And eventually I'll tell you like a few tips how to avoid that and some workarounds, but that's what's going to happen. Now you're just trying to make a layout that makes sense, and then afterwards fill it up with colors. So yeah, so here what I'm going to do, I'm just going to And yeah, so I'm basically thinking of, I'm just going to save the grid here. I'm just going to say main grid. And now I'm just going to close it just to see how it looks without the grid. So yeah, so basically that's what you have to do for the whole page. Once you do that, then you're ready to move on to the next step, which is finding the colors and the typography. So instead of you watching me exactly how I do the design for every single section, like you just saw me doing for all of the hero section and for this section, I'm basically going to continue, and in the next video you'll see exactly the whole homepage, how it's designed, what I came up with. And yeah, so in the next video we're going to see how we can find the right colors for our website. So yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and comment, like, subscribe, and again, if you have any questions, comment, I'll answer with pleasure. And yeah, so see you in the next video, and we'll see how we're gonna learn about color and how to incorporate it in our design. See you in the next video.